Welcome back to another episode of the MacRumors Show. I am Dan Hartley. Good afternoon. Happy Thanksgiving week. I know that means nothing to you, but thought I'd say it anyways.
Thank you. I appreciate that, even though I don't know what it means.
Yeah, you know. Anyways, are you going to do anything for Black Friday? I know you do get that. Are you targeting anything?
I am very tempted to pick up some noise-canceling headphones. I don't know. I always seem to pick up something, but it's usually accessory-type products. I think last year I got those like Anchor batteries and like some cables and some power adapters. It's always that kind of stuff. Hard drives, that stuff's always cheap over Black Friday. Not so much actual Apple devices, but where there are deals, of course, we will post that on MacRumors.
Yeah, we've been doing it all week. And in fact, I wanted to tell you, you mentioned last week how you wanted to buy like pretty much every AirPods that are out right now. Now's the time to do it. They have tons of deals.
AirPods are actually a really good one to pick up over Black Friday.
I think AirPods Pro 2 are like $160 or $159.
Yeah, they're cheaper than the full retail price of the standard AirPods 4.
Yeah,
with ANC, yeah.
This isn't like an ad or anything. I'm not price hawking. I'm just letting you know there are some deals out there if you're looking to get stuff. And of course, let us know what you get. I'm always curious about that. But yeah, don't maybe get an iPhone if you're thinking about the iPhone 17, which is a segue that I just made up in order to go to our main topic. And that's the iPhone 17 Air. We have more details about that. Really the whole lineup. And for the first time for me, at least, the Pro and the Pro Max, we finally have some new concrete info about it. So let's start with the Air or the 17. I mean, it's all going to be the same. So Hartley, this is some interesting news. So before, when we had the iPhone Air rumors, it was like, oh, this is going to be an ultra sleek, elegant, high-end iPhone. It's going to cost a lot more than everything else, but it might have less features. And to me, I was like, what's the point of that? You're going to pay a premium for what, thinness? I guess maybe not that much though. But then we have gotten a little bit more information that now this looks like it's just going to replace the Plus. And while it might be more than the 17, it's not going to be more than the Pro Max, correct?
That's my understanding. Okay. I find it very interesting how it's positioned even there, though, because the iPhone 17 Air will be more different to the iPhone 17 than the iPhone 16 is to the 16 Plus. The 16 Plus is the same device as the iPhone 16, just with a larger display and longer battery life.
Yeah.
But the iPhone 17 Air will have, in some respects, fewer features, it seems. So, for example, the iPhone 17 will continue to feature the ultra-wide camera. It will continue to feature 2 speakers, so you get stereo sound. The iPhone 17 Air will not. The iPhone 17 Air will have a single rear camera and only 1 speaker for mono audio. So even though you're paying more for this slim design, there are trade-offs with features. Yeah. And I would also bet that battery life, which has been such a key selling point of the iPhone 15 Plus and iPhone 16 Plus, will actually not be fantastic on this device. It wouldn't surprise me if it had the same battery life as the standard iPhone 17.
So I still think it's a little ridiculous to be paying more for less features, like just for thinness, when you could just go ahead and get a 17 and get that extra camera, probably better battery life. But there's going to be people who want it. I'm just thankful it's not the top of the line, like positioned that way.
And that never fully really made sense to us. But I think that my understanding about this is that this, if you like, the fourth iPhone in the lineup. So if we go back in time here, we think that for a long time there was just one iPhone. Then Apple introduced 2 sizes. Then we had like the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus. That continued for years until we got to the iPhone 10, which sat above the lineup as the new high-end option. It was basically like a Pro model. So we had the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and iPhone 10. Going further forward still, they then introduced the XS Max. So now there are 4 models. Then it drops down to 3 again with only 1 low-end model. So we had the iPhone 11, the iPhone 11 Pro, and iPhone 11 Pro Max. And then with the iPhone 12, they bring back that kind of 4th model with a smaller size option, which was the Mini. So we have 4 models in the lineup with the Mini, and then that becomes the Plus. However, the problem is that, and this is a problem that Apple has faced this entire time, is that 4th model does not sell very well. it accounts for between like 5 and 10% of iPhone sales. Really low, which is why Apple actually moved away from the Mini to the Plus. So the whole idea behind doing this is to stimulate sales for that model. So while I agree with you, it's a bit of a weird device. If currently only like 5 to 10% of people opt for an iPhone 16 Plus, if 20% of people opt for an iPhone 17 Air instead, that is an improvement. And if it is a more interesting device that people pick up in an Apple store and think, okay, this is something different to these other three iPhones, maybe that will capture some interest. And the other thing you have to remember is the people who do buy an iPhone 15 or 16 Plus right now, they just buy that because it's got a big screen. They're not really thinking about anything else, because if they cared about camera features, they would go for a Pro Max. If they cared about Pro features, they would step up to even just a Pro model. But they choose that Plus because of display size. And that is one thing that is going to be carried over with the iPhone 17 Air. It will still feature a larger display than the standard iPhone 17. So it's just making a more premium option out of these two, but just there are some trade-offs for that design.
Sure, but I wonder how many people who, okay, maybe they had a 15 Plus and they're like, you know what, it's been 2 years, I'm ready to upgrade. I'm going to go for that 17 Air because it's the same size, a little bit cheaper than the Pro. They get it, but then they realize, oh, this battery life is terrible in comparison to what was the best battery life that you could get on an iPhone. So I don't know, like, how happy people are going to be when they realize that. So,
I mean, it depends on if Apple can balance that out. Because while battery life is really important, I mean, we were even talking about this last week about what a big difference it's made for me upgrading to an iPhone 16 Pro from an iPhone 15 Pro singularly because of battery life.
Hey guys, just want to let you know this episode of the MacRumors Show is sponsored by Mando. It's that time of the year again. Black Friday is here and Cyber Monday is right around the corner. So maybe you're getting a little too stressed out from all of the running around, shopping, and holiday hosting that you start to get a little stinky under the pits. Well, Mando's 72-hour formula keeps you fresh even on those non-stop days. While you're juggling gift lists, long lines, and family gatherings, Mando's got you covered. No reapplying necessary. I personally love the Deo stick for the pits and the deodorant wipes for everywhere else while on the go and especially while traveling. If you're wondering what in the world is Mando, Mando was created by a real doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It works for 72 hours straight no matter what you're doing. So if you're holiday shopping, working overtime, or just sitting through a marathon of family dinners, Mando will have you covered. It also comes in some awesome scents like bourbon leather, Mount Fuji, which is the one that I currently use, Pro Sport, and Cloverwoods. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers or to secure some last-minute stocking stuffers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash or the deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Right now, through Cyber Monday, you can get up to 30% off bundles. Head to shopmando.com to shop their sale. shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. And when they ask, please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Don't let the holidays stress you into getting too sweaty this holiday season. Your friends and family will thank you.
I also think that if this iPhone just looks really cool and comes in some unique color options, people are not going to really massively complain about the battery life because it will feel significantly different. I mean, to go back to this report and some of the other reports we've heard more recently, it looks like this device will be between 5 and 6 millimeters thick, which is very thin for an iPhone. So right now, an iPhone 16 Pro is 8.25 millimeters thick. The thinnest iPhone that has ever been released was the iPhone 6, which was 6.9 millimeters thick. So theoretically, this is nearly 2 millimeters thinner
it's pretty
than
substantial.
That.
Yeah,
I remember the iPhone 6 and being really surprised by just how thin it felt. I mean, think about the iPad Pro right now. The 13-inch iPad Pro is an incredibly thin device. The iPhone 17 Air could potentially be thinner than that. And if it really does feel very, very nimble, it's going to have this aluminium chassis. and obviously with a smaller battery, it's also going to be less heavy because of that as well. So if it feels very
like air,
very lightweight, very thin, that is a different experience in the hand.
Sure.
That some people will like, because I'm sure you know people like I do that do just complain not just about maybe iPhone screens being too big, but there is definitely a contingent of people that wants a big screen but says the Pro Max is just too heavy. I don't want that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So it
I'm
caters
one of those
to a different group of people.
I'm one of those people. In last week's episode, we talked about the things that we switched to. I switched to the Pro, and I loved the weight in comparison, the form factor, I mean, everything about it except for the size. Like, I wanted that bigger display and the bigger battery, and so yeah, I told you I was going to switch back eventually, and I already did. Like, and I'm still, it's like it's a love hate. Like, I love the size, but man, is the weight just, it's tough when you go back like that. So I'm definitely going to give it a shot when it comes out, but there are some trade-offs. One single camera, I'm fine with it if it's the same main sensor that you get across the board, basically. Minor trade-offs, but like for the most part, most of the pictures look the same. I just don't know about telephoto. I do use it quite a bit, but like, can I make up for it with digitals? They're going to have to do something. So
I think that, so there's 2 points there. The first point is about battery life. And I think the one consideration that we have to remember with this device, or rather two considerations actually, is that first of all, it is supposed to get Apple's custom modem. And if what Apple Silicon did for battery life is any indication of what Apple can do in this area, that component uses so much of the device's power right now. Think about when you used 5G and it drained battery life when the iPhone 12 came out. That was a whole thing. And it's because that was a bought-in Qualcomm component.
Terrible.
That will now be a custom silicon thing designed by Apple. So that has the potential to save a significant amount of battery life. And the other thing is the A19 chip. So I can't actually remember if that's supposed to be a 3 nanometer chip or if we're moving to 2 nanometer. But either way, it should be the next version of TSMC's. Excuse me.
Bless you.
That should be the next version of TSMC's fabrication process.
Yes.
And the reason the iPhone 16 Pro's battery life is significantly better than the iPhone 15's is because it has moved on from that base node to the enhanced node. And if there is a further enhancement still, which there should be next year, that will also save battery life. It'll be 20% more power efficient or something like that. So a little saving on the chip and a little saving on the modem should theoretically mean that it may not be quite as bad as we're imagining. What about to your second point about the camera?
Yeah.
We've already seen Apple experiment with some things like this. So if you remember with the iPhone 7, iPhone 8, where they first added the telephoto camera to the Plus model, that was only a 2x alongside the normal wide camera. But right now, if you buy an iPhone 16, that does not have a telephoto camera, but you can still have 2x because you crop in on that 48 megapixel sensor. So even though you're having one camera, you will have at least 2x zoom. And I think that it's interesting that Apple has already started to use this language of fusion camera. Apple went through a phase of calling the main camera on the iPhone just the wide camera, because that's what it is. Then they changed that language a few years ago to main camera. They've now changed it again to fusion camera.
Fusion.
I don't think that is any coincidence. I think that ultimately the entire standard line of iPhones is going to drop the ultra-wide camera, a bit like the iPad Pro has. I think Apple realizes the ultra-wide camera is not being used by enough people to really justify its presence. And I think we've also seen in recent years that Apple is not afraid to drop features that it doesn't think its users are using. So it makes sense to me that they present this as the next generation fusion camera that is far more capable. And that means that if someone comes into an Apple store and says, oh, well, I like my ultra-wide, I don't want to get rid of my ultra-wide, someone in the Apple store will have been trained to say, oh, don't worry, this is the next generation fusion camera that is more advanced and has computational photography.
They'll
that
figure
makes
out a
up
way
for
to
that.
sell it. Like, listen, I'm not like going around taking pictures for the sake of like, I'm trying to make art. Sometimes you want a good picture, but most of the time it's like, I just need to snap something quick that's good that I can remember this moment by. Mostly videos too. So I think I can make do if that weight and that form factor and that like whole feeling of it is truly special, quote unquote, and like makes me. And then again, it also depends on what the Pro and Pro Max are going to have, because then there's FOMO there. Am I going to be missing out on that? I mean, I'm intrigued by it for sure. I definitely want to see where this goes. The display is another thing, though. If the display is still rocking that 60 hertz, I'm going to be
It shouldn't.
It
That's
shouldn't.
something that's pretty nailed down now. It looks like
Okay,
that
good.
will be
It shouldn't,
promotion.
but last minute hiccups happen, and if for some reason it comes back to it, I'm going to be very disappointed in that.
I don't think it will. I think of all things that we know about this device, I think that is one of the most nailed down features right now.
I mean, it's been so many years that we've heard, okay, this is going to be the time. This is going to be the time. Eventually, it needs to happen. That can no longer be held off as a pro feature. There are phones that cost like $50 on Amazon. Some Android phone that has at least 90 hertz. Like we can do this now. It's okay. Okay, so then, I mean, that's pretty much everything else. I mean, you can still expect to see the dynamic island. You'll obviously get Face ID. That's not going anywhere. It'll have Apple Intelligence, of course. So, I mean, pretty good phone. Super thin, super light. I mean, do you think there's going to be any like other design changes to accommodate for this?
Well, one of the most significant changes, I think, because it's the first time this will ever have been done on an iPhone, is the camera will be centered on the back.
Yeah. Yep.
It won't be in the corner. Which
that'll be
will make it look very different. And it's, in a way, it's quite clever marketing, because if some users will feel like Apple is removing cameras, if that camera is way more prominent and in a different location, it's like Apple is proud of it and is saying, yeah, it's only got one camera. Look at it. This is something different. This is something special.
That'll be interesting to see. I feel like this is where like Apple needs to go. Have you seen those? I'm just kidding, by the way. But have you seen like the Oppo Find X8 where it has that massive circular?
Yeah.
Just do something like that right there. Also, does this not just feel like the natural progression of this phone is to take it and fold it in half? Just like that's going to be the next step, right? That's where this has to go. You're doing everything that you need to do.
I think that's where the iPhone lineup is moving as a whole, because let's face it, I know people in the Apple community have been saying this for years, but I really believe it now more than I ever did that we are reaching peak iPhone.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you do?
Every year there are diminishing returns from these differences. And the upgrades now, like we've got USB-C. The Pro models have got ProMotion. The cameras are very good. As of next year, they will all have 48 megapixel sensors. We have the telephoto powered by the tetraprism lens system to provide that 5x throw. We've got the titanium chassis. We've got dynamic island. We've got super thin bezels now. They can't get much thinner than they are. How much more can really be done to this device with the current technology? I think that the next big thing for the iPhone lineup really will be a foldable. And we may be a couple of years away from that, but 3 more years of iterative iPhone upgrades followed by a foldable seems like how this is going to pan out to me.
Or like just go the other way, complete software redesign, but that doesn't really help you drive more sales.
No.
So, I mean, that's the only other way you can make it look and feel different. I mean, besides innovating on hardware, which, like you said, there's really not much room left. I mean, I think we're there. Okay, the Pro Max and the Pro. Or, well, you briefly wanted to mention the 17. Is there something there that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I was just going to say that I think, a little bit like I said earlier, that it's just very interesting that this device is going to exist alongside the iPhone 17 Air at a lower price point.
Yeah.
So it actually means, like, sometimes, I mean, even you just did it right then. When we talk about the 17 Pro and Pro Max, we lump them together because they're the same device other than battery life and screen size. We also, for years now, have done that with the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus. We talk about them in the same breath.
Right.
But going forward, we can't do that with the iPhone 17 and 17 Air because they will have different designs, different camera systems. And that is fairly significant. They just won't. You just can't if they're
just not. I mean,
even
same.
Like the speaker systems and the price points. It's all very interesting decision making on Apple's part there.
Now, what's the current price of the entry level? Is it $699, $799, or $799, $899? I feel like it's that one.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so would you imagine that this would be the same, or do you
I think
think
so,
that?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see where this goes. I mean, we still have tons of time, but and lots could change. But this is how it starts. We usually start talking about it a couple months after the new iPhone comes out. We start getting more and more details. So obviously, it'll progress. And we'll see how that goes. But the other interesting thing was all of the information that came about the new Pro and Pro Max. And one of the things that I saw that was intriguing is that apparently we're going to revert back to an aluminum frame again across
Yes.
all. Why? We have spent so much time on the Pro and Pro Max. When the regular phones get their stage time, it's like, look at this aluminum, maybe you'll have the aluminium just to make it fancier for like they gloat about it. It's the best aluminum or aluminium that you can get. And then we move on to the Pro and it's like, forget that trash. Go get stainless steel. This is amazing. Or come get the new titanium. And now after 2 years, we're going to abandon and go back to aluminum. That seems very un-Apple and seems very strange. What am I missing?
It is a little bit strange considering how central to the marketing of the iPhone 15 Pro the titanium frame is. But what I would say is that I still prefer the aluminium.
Yeah, I like the way it
feels significantly lighter.
Yeah.
And I think that actually, even though the Pro models now are less heavy than they were with stainless steel, I would still prefer them to get lighter. And this is the only way to achieve that.
Real quick, here's the thing, though. I've been told for the last... When did we get stainless steel? The 12?
Yes. No. We got stainless steel with the iPhone 10.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because, okay. So for the last 7 years, I have been told that this, aluminum is not as premium as stainless steel or titanium. And I've been told this every single year. Every year. This is a thing. This is a selling point. Look at how premium these materials are. And now all of a sudden you're taking that away. You're not changing the price.
It's all about how it's presented, right? So,
well, sure, but it's just strange.
Okay, I think I can sell you on this in one sentence. I'll give you an example.
You can. Say aluminium, and I'll be sold.
Okay, well, I will avoid that. But for example, you want a bright colored iPhone, don't you, Dan? A Pro model.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
You can't have that with titanium because it won't take the color.
Mm-hmm.
Aluminium will take the color.
You see, you said aluminium. You're trying to get... Okay. Here's the thing, though. I thought about that in my head while we were going through this. Like, oh, maybe we'll get that design element that we get on the standard, which I really love, that frosted glass. It looks so good. The colors really take well along the whole, frame of the phone. There is a 0% chance in my mind that Apple is going to give any fun colors to the Pro models. What basis do I have to think that that's actually going to happen?
Colors is one reason why they could justify it. I think another reason, other than the weight, is if they actually debut some sort of hybrid material that is different to the aluminium that is used on the standard model. So do you remember when they made that big deal out of, I think it was 6000 series aluminium on the iPhone 6S?
Yeah.
What if they say, oh, well, this is now 10,000 series?
Oh, that means
aluminium.
Nothing to me, Hartley. It means nothing.
I mean, it could also be like an aluminium-titanium hybrid. Like if they say to you, okay, well, the outer frame is titanium, but the inner frame is aluminium and this saves weight, or vice versa, or something that makes the Pro models different. They just call it something different. So they usually say that with the aluminium that it's aerospace grade aluminium. What if they say
people get so mad about that? By the way,
standard models have aerospace grade aluminium, but the Pro models have like some new hybrid aluminium plus material.
Here's the crazy thing. I'm not even mad. I actually want them to use aluminum because I agree. I like the way it feels better. It's lighter. It's fine. It's not at all like I've never had tons of scratches along the sides or anything. It held up really well. I do like the titanium, but there's still weight to it. And so, I don't care that they go to it. I just feel like I'm kind of getting ripped off here if we're just being told that, like, oh, part of the extra price is like you're getting these premium materials that you no longer look at the elegance, Hartley, the elegance of stainless steel and all of its fingerprints. Oh, nope. Think about the desert titanium and how great it looks. And then you're just going to bring me back down to aluminum. I feel like I'm getting ripped off. And for the record, I don't care personally because I like aluminum. I just don't know where you're going to like pull from that to make up for it. Like, what are you going to make up for it? What are you going to give me that's worth that extra price?
I mean, people will still buy it, Dan.
I know. I'm going to be one of those people.
Exactly.
And
So am I.
I know this feels like I'm complaining. I'm just saying, I just think it's weird. Like,
it is weird. It is undeniably weird that they made such a big deal of the move to titanium, and to now say, oh, actually, aluminium was great all along.
Yeah. I mean, they obviously think it's great. They use it for all their other phones. It's just like,
and iPads and MacBooks and displays and the Apple TV remotes and everything.
It's fine. I just think it's strange that we're gonna like that. It's just it was marketed so heavily. I mean, wasn't the 15 just like the first thing you saw was titanium? Like that was,
that was the tagline was titanium.
When do you see aluminum on any of the other stuff? Never.
Yep.
So like, I mean, it's just funny. It's just
they're going to have to explain it in some way.
Explain yourself, Apple. Explain yourself. And it's funny because I'm not even mad about it. Like, I really don't care. I just, I don't know. So that's a weird thing. I know, our buddy Sam, good dude, Apple Track, if you follow online and you don't know who I'm talking about, he posted all of this information on a render, and had a render based off of some info. But one of the things that I thought was interesting was that all the cameras were across like that. Now, we don't actually know or think that that's going to happen. That's not, I think that was just made. I don't know why they did it like that, but what would you think if the cameras changed like that?
I don't mind that. I would like it in the sense that the iPhone wouldn't wobble on a surface.
Yeah.
I don't love the wobble, and this would be a way of resolving that. But it does look very pixel-like.
Yeah. I like that look, though. I do really like the pixel.
I quite like it, but I can already see people saying that this is just Apple copying Google. I mean, for what it's worth, we don't know it will be like that. The actual camera array may well be exactly the same in terms of being arranged as a 3 in a sort of triangular design like it is right now. The difference will be that the actual back of the device will have 2 different materials on it, where right now the back of the iPhone has 3D glass, where the frosted glass kind of moves upward onto that camera plateau where you have the 3 lenses set on top of it. That will now be aluminium. And instead, the lower portion of the iPhone will be made of glass, because that will still support wireless charging. So it will be a smaller area that is made of glass.
That's so strange.
In some respects, it would be like an inverse iPhone 5, where you think that like the iPhone 5 has the aluminium in the middle, but then it's got like the glass on the top or bottom. It would be the other way around potentially, except without the bottom piece, and obviously the cameras are bigger. It also reminds me a little bit of like the early iPhones, like the iPhone, I think, the original model, where it's got that 2-tone back.
Dude, do you remember that render that we saw? What was it for? It was for one of the iPhones over the last few years where they thought it could go back to that. Ooh, I would give up wireless charging to go back to that. I'm kidding. I use wireless charging all the time, but I do really like that design. I'm not going to lie.
I do too. I think it's a really good way to refresh the iPhone's design.
Dude, the iPhone 15, I'm looking at it right now, or the iPhone 15. The iPhone 5 was good. I like that design too.
It also will make the iPhone much lighter because the glass back is really comparatively heavy compared to a thin aluminium plate. So if there is half as much glass on the back of the phone, especially with that thick piece of 3D glass that's around the camera, that should make a fairly significant difference to the weight if the frame itself is also moving back to aluminium. And it will also just look different. And if there's one thing the Apple community likes, it is, it looks different.
I think it's
visual change.
I think it's just humans in general. We can't do the same things over and over again. That's too much. Like, I got to have a little bit of spice in my life, you know? Um, I I think I don't know how you feel about this, but I would totally love. I would even accept. This is like Apple going from the stainless steel and titanium down to aluminum. It doesn't make any sense. But to me, I would be okay with this if they were to somehow get the cameras to be flush. Like looking at the iPhone 5, it's flush. Could you imagine? I know they'd probably have to sacrifice some sort of quality a little bit, or you'd be losing out on some of the specs that we have now. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they can figure it out. But let's just say, oh, the camera quality is not going to be as good, but hey, we've managed to make it flush. Would you do
I
that?
love the idea of it, but
Yeah.
I would not be okay with those trade-offs because I
Yeah.
think that one of the main use cases for the iPhone at all is as its
Yeah, as a
camera.
camera.
And most people also use a case anyway.
But you said you don't like the wobble. I
I
know,
don't like the wobble,
That's
but then if they can rectify that by putting them in a line or by
yeah.
even if they just extended a little bit like a Pixel, where to come back to that, even if all the cameras were arranged on the left, if the top half of the device obtruded a little bit, then that wouldn't happen, and then you would have more space at the top of the device, but it would still feel thin in the hand. I think there
Hartley,
are other solutions as well.
I feel like you just need to buy a Pixel.
But it doesn't run iOS, Dan. I can't do that.
It runs Android, which you can make to look and feel like iOS. What's the big deal?
Will it run iOS apps?
Really, Things 3 is that important? Do we need to talk to
I didn't even have to mention it, did I?
No, I've known you for how many years now? Do we even need to, like, should we just have the creator of Things 3 on this podcast so he can explain to me why you like it so much? Because I hear it from you, but I need to hear it from him.
I'd be too much of a fanboy in that episode.
Would you be?
I don't think I could handle it.
Does anyone out there like Things 3 as much as Hartley likes Things 3?
Probably not, but it is a really good app. It's really
good. What's his name? We had him on our show. I feel really bad because I'm Christopher Lawley. I don't know why I was blanking on his name right then and there. Literally see him all the time. He loves Things 3. So
then he is a man of good taste.
I mean, I don't not like it. I don't know how to, like, the Reminders app does everything I need it to do.
But it doesn't do everything that Things 3 does.
Name one thing that you love that you can't. I just want to know. I'm just curious.
Repeat after completion. So in the Reminders app, if I check something off, I can only have it repeat on a certain date. But I can't just have it check off a week after I do something. So, for example, if you had a task like take out the trash every week, in the Reminders app, that will have to be on a set day every week. And if you do it late, it will reappear on the same day the following week. Whereas in Things 3, it will do it 7 days after you selected it, as it should be.
Right.
And you have the choice to do both. That is essential. It is so important to, like, a good task management system.
What about Reminders in the calendar app? That didn't sway you?
No, it's a horrific mess. Like, why do I want to have, like, 20 tasks, like, in my calendar when actually the calendar is for calendar events, not reminders? They are different things. They serve different purposes.
Do you really need a reminder to take the trash out?
I'm just giving you an example. Because I wouldn't even say trash. I'm just trying to
what would you say? Rubbage?
Rubbish.
Rubbish. I don't know, man. I'm not English. I should know that word, though. That is still a word in the English language that I do speak. Is. What was I? I feel like I was combining two words there.
I honestly couldn't tell you, Dan.
Rubbish. My bad. Rubbish.
There we are.
Is that what you would call it?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Do you call it a rubbish can?
Nope. I would call it a bin.
Yes. The bin. The trash bin? The rubbish bin? Rubbish bin? Rubbish
bin, yes. We can make a great, educational show out of this.
No one would want to listen to that. Is there anything else about the Pro Max that you want to talk about?
Well, the camera array is supposed to be bigger.
Oh, great.
Which is also interesting considering how big it is right now.
Yeah, that's what we wanted.
Yep. So that's interesting.
That's that. Yeah. I mean, I think it's still a little too early. I think the biggest thing was the aluminum on it, honestly. Like, I don't know how we go back, but
I'm
not mad about it. I'm okay with it too. I just don't know how you do it. I just feel like that's kind of lame. But
it'll be very interesting to see when we get more information about this design, because by the sounds of it, this is going to be the most significant change to the iPhone's design. I would say, I think it's on a level at least with the iPhone 12 and iPhone 15 Pro, in terms of the scale of the changes. Nothing's ever really going to be as big as the iPhone 10.
Just go back to it. Just go back to it, guys. You really had like a number one hit there. Ride it into the sunset. Let's go back.
I would love that to come back, but the way I would love it to come back is with an aluminium frame, dynamic island, slim bezels, frosted glass back, and the camera array we have right now. So all like the current specs, just slight tweaks on that design, USB-C, that kind of thing. And that would be an amazing device.
And just maybe bump it up to 6 inches flat.
No.
You want to go back to 5.8? 5.8 was fine. It was perfect. It was. And you know why? Because I'm like, oh, I'm big phone guy. Like we just talked about this. But do you want to know why I loved it? Because I didn't have the opportunity to get a bigger phone. This was it.
Right.
This was the best one you could get. Nobody else could get any.
And it was so different. It was so different.
It was so good. It was because, the whole notch, man. Remember everybody freaked out about the notch?
But just having like a bezel-less design.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
We can't do this
Face
anymore.
ID.
Yeah.
Stainless steel coming back, polished.
And emojis.
Even like the camera array was the other way around. It was a good time to be alive, Dan.
Yeah, I'm never selling it. I still have it. I'm never getting rid of it. I still have mine in my drawer. It's going to stay there till the very end. I hope one day it can still turn on and I can look back on it as an old man. When phones are, I don't know, what do you think phones will be in 50 years? Microscopic in our brains? Probably that. Just implanted. All right, well, relatively short episode for you all, but I think the conversation was good because I think you all have some stuff to tell us in the comments. Like, how do you feel about Pro and Pro Max going aluminum after the titanium? How do you feel about paying a little bit more for a little bit less, but having ultra thin design and lightweight and still a larger display? Like, tons of stuff to sound off about in the comments. And otherwise, if you're in the United States, happy Thanksgiving, or anywhere where it's the United States. That's where you're celebrating it at. And let us know what you get for Black Friday. And with that, we'll catch everybody in the next episode.